Okay, I'm recording now, and I'm looking for where I would give him permission.
Carlos, hit your thing to press record and see if a message pops up for you.
Yeah, I am not allowed.
I think you
But
can
don't
only
worry.
make one recording.
Okay, wait a minute. I might have found
Don't worry.
something.
That's the story of my life.
Well, I've done it with 3 or 4 people recording, so usually it
Uh,
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't
The
just happen.
story of my life is that women never allow me to do what I want. Don't worry about it.
Keep working that story, Carlos. Let's see where that gets you. It got you
That
here.
does sound like a story.
You look so happy.
Oh my goodness.
Perhaps time to curate a new story.
Julie, don't worry about it.
All right. Let's see, what else? Recording. I might have found a place where I can do this. Maybe. Let's see. Well,
Very good.
I thought maybe not. General. Okay. All right. We have some more people coming on. We have,
Nice.
yeah. Let's see. I thought we did. She disappeared. Well, I have this recording. Let's give it just a minute, and then we'll get started. But while we're here, I will introduce Carlos. He's been my coach in all things, all things wonderful, for about the last 3 years. And so when I introduce him, I'm always confused as to whether I introduce him as a business coach or a life coach, and he's really all of the above, because we don't compartmentalize our lives in order to be who we are called to be. And so it has been just a blessing that he actually, there are no areas where he doesn't get to coach me, correct me. And so anyway, it's been an awesome couple of years. It has been an awesome couple of years. And in those 3 years, he has been coaching other people. He has a company that does private coaching. Do you do any group coaching? I mean, like regular, repeated group coaching. Yeah. Okay.
We're doing individual and team coaching. Yeah.
Okay, so you just never found a group that I fit into, right?
Well, there are things that I try to avoid in life. Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know that was an option. Evidently, it's not an option for me.
Anyway. Julie's.
Yeah. So anyway, so he also has a nonprofit that allows him to take his coaching, the things that he teaches to his paying clientele. He teaches to countries and areas where they can't afford to do this. And between those two companies, one nonprofit and one for-profit, he shared with me some numbers that over the last 3 years, since he's been doing this coaching, that he has impacted just under 250,000 people. That's a lot. That is huge, and well on his way to his goal of sharing leadership with 1 million people by the year 2030. I think he's going to make it. I think he needs to set a new goal. I think he needs a coach.
Thank you, Julie, for coaching me now.
Right. So anyway, Dan was the other one that I knew was coming in. So we'll welcome Dan. Hi, Dan. Welcome. We're just now getting started. Dan, this is Coach Carlos Velez.
How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah,
Good morning.
Dan, you're calling from Mooresville, are you?
I am in Concord.
Well, why is it I think everybody from Concord is from Mooresville? I've missed that twice. We've got somebody else from Concord I thought was from Mooresville. But we're glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. Take it away, Carlos. Teach
Well,
us.
good morning, everybody. To be with you. I'm right now in Puerto Rico. I'm doing some consulting work for several companies here, but I'm so happy to be with you because today I will be sharing with you one of the topics that I'm more passionate about, and is how to take your story and make it work for you. Is how to use the most valuable tool you have in your life, that is your own story. You know, there's only one expert in the whole world about your story, and that's you. And today, if you allow me, I'm going to share this presentation because I love when people, instead of dreaming and being stopped by the things they do not have, they take advantage of what they possess and they use it for the highest benefit. In this case, will be your business or your company. Many months ago, I had the opportunity in one of our coaching sessions. I don't know if you can see, let me see. Can you see the presentation right now?
We can.
Yeah, you can? Okay. And what about now?
We can see your PowerPoint. It's not, we haven't started. Up at the top, there you go. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Many times as I do coaching and consulting in different companies, what I notice is that people are always dreaming and thinking that they haven't accomplished what they need to accomplish because of what they lack of. I don't have this, and I don't have this, and I don't have this. Instead of doing an honest inventory of what they really possess and taking advantage of what they have. And one of the things that you have and nobody else have is your story. That's why we want to speak today about the idea of creating a story that connects with people. Now, why it's so important to connect? Well, there's a difference between communicating and connecting. When you communicate, you are transferring information. But when you're connecting, what you are doing is you are taking the needs of the other person and make it yours. And when those needs are yours, you will find that you possess what it takes to solve and to address those needs. That's why using your story, it's so important, because your story is the most valuable possession that you have. Sadly, through my walk in life, I have found that people tend to run from their story or try to hide their story. And that is only evidence of the lack of healing and acceptance that they have in their own life. Because you know when you are healed, you know when you are restored, you know when you are in a better shape, when you can take the wounds of your life and change them to become tools in your life. When you can change a wound and make it a tool, healing had happened. And this is why it's so important that you are aware and you learn to use your story. The main idea here is that if you want to impress people, you will share your victories. And if you want to depress them, well, you probably share your failures, right? But in order to connect with people, you need to share both. Your victories will give people credibility about you, but it's your failures that will allow you to connect with you. Why? Because people will see that you are a person as normal or strange as they are, And if you were able to make it, they are able to make it probably in a different level or in a different position. Now, we have developed a very simple process to take advantage of your story. The first one is this. The first one is that you need to identify the message and the desired outcome you want as you present your story. For example, in the case of Julie Jones, she is a realtor. And as a realtor for the company that she works for, she has two basic tasks to perform. The first one is to sell properties, but the second one is to recruit agents to be part of his team, of her team. For that reason, at the same time, she is giving people the opportunity to know about the properties that she has and she's representing. She's pursuing people and inviting them to this great opportunity that her company offers. Now, once you know what is the message that you need to address, and number two, and you know the desirable outcome. In the case of the sales, we want people to purchase. In the case of the recruitment, we want people to sign up. Once we know that, we go to the second step of the process. And that second step is to divide your life into chapters. And we're going to do an exercise a little bit later today. And the idea is that you can divide your life in chapters and entitle them and give a brief explanation of that stage of life. I'm going to stop right here for a moment. Let me go back to all of you instead of watching only the PowerPoint presentation. And when I say dividing your life in chapters, that doesn't need to have anything to do with chronological order. Like, you don't need to do it like from the ages of 0 to 5 and 5 to 10, nothing like that. Allow the theme to be the factor that determines that chapter. Julie, I don't know if you can open your microphone right now, but you remember when you and I did this exercise, and do you remember the theme of your first chapter?
Yes, I do.
Can you let everybody hear that theme?
Yes. The theme of my first chapter was my childhood, and it was the theme of experiencing deep abandonment and that no matter what our environment was, that I possessed the potential to do whatever I needed to do.
Exactly. And if you remember what we did with this period, this chapter, was to go very briefly over your childhood, right? And see the few instances or significant relationships where you were not fully embraced, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a painful experience to all of us. But let me tell you something. When you are willing to open, and you don't need to give the details because this is not a novel. This is only a presentation, right?
Yeah, right.
But when you're able to express those ideas, the ability that you will develop to connect with others will be incredible. People will never connect with you through your victories. People will connect with you through the challenges. For that reason, we're going to take that, for example, that theme, abandonedness. And as soon as Julie shared this with anybody, there is a period in our life where we have been abandoned or we have not been embraced. You see? And for many people, that is an amazing excuse to never fulfill their dreams or their calling or their purpose. But it is important to include this there because those are the obstacles that we overcome in order to accomplish that purpose and that calling in our lives. You see, the greatest stories in life are not stories of people who always won. The greatest stories in life are the people who have several obstacles, and in spite of them, they went to the summit and they conquered. And you know what? Success doesn't look the same to everybody. For example, for me, when I was very young, success was that I will become a judge in the Supreme Court of my country. That was the definition of success when I was younger, when I was 15, 14, and all that stage of my life. Today, my definition of success is that the people that I love will respect me. It have changed completely. And it had changed because I have something, well, I don't have it all the time, and Julie knows this, but sometimes I have something called maturity. Right, Julie? I don't have it all the time, but sometimes, right? I have a little bit of that, right? Not all. And because I'm a little bit more mature than before, I understand that success will never be experienced in the outside if it's not experienced in the inside first. You see, success is a door that only open from the inside. I hope you got that.
Can we just take a moment, Carlos? I want us just to stop and breathe a moment. Say that again, just like you said it, and then go, and then move on. But just take a moment.
Success is a door that only opens from the inside. Nobody has a key outside to open it. You need to open it. Okay? And the real second step is that you take your life, your 20 years, your 30 years, your 40 years, and I'm going to stop right there, right? And you will divide that life in chapters. Don't do it because of your age, from 0 to 10, from 11 to 19. No. Try to utilize a theme, a topic that will represent that stage of your life. Let me go back to my presentation because I want to give you the third. Let me see if can you see the presentation? Yeah. And then
Now we can.
No, you don't see it.
We can see it now.
Okay.
Well, now we can't.
Yeah.
Go back.
As soon as you told me you can see it, I took it out. What about now?
Give it a second. Yeah, we're good.
We're good? Are you seeing the first or the... Okay, let me change it. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, I promise I will not take it out again, okay? The third stage in the process is this. You're gonna integrate the chapters with the message. That means in the first step, you identify the message and the desirable outcome. In the second step, you divide your life in those chapters, right? Now, in the third step, you're going to integrate that. And check this out. This is the most important part. You need to have a 5-minute version. You need to have a 15-minute version. You need to have a 30-minute version. And you need to have a 60 minute version. And let me tell you what is the number one mistake that a lot of people make when they go in this third stage of the process. They try to write the 60-minute speech or story first. That is the biggest mistake you can do. You always start with the 5-minute presentation.
Carlos,
If
can I ask you a question on this?
Sure.
For the people on here who are realtors, a lot of our interactions come from very cold sources, meaning maybe internet leads. And we have a period sometimes of 10 seconds. I don't know, Dan, some of you tell me what the numbers are, but it is nanoseconds that we have to connect with someone. Do you think it's possible to come up with a 15-second version?
Well, not of the story, but you should have ready 3 lines where you can say who you are, what you do, and how you can help.
Okay.
Who you are, what do you do, and how you can help.
And the who we are, is that where the part of our story that connects us lives?
Yeah.
Okay.
For example, Julie, let's say for a moment, Julie, that I'm a realtor like you.
Mm-hmm.
One part of my story is that because of my type of work, in the last 27 years, I have moved 11 times.
Mm-hmm.
You see, if I'm a realtor, I'm going to say, my name is Carlos, I'm a realtor, and I know the hazards and the challenges of finding a new house. I have moved 11 times in less than 25 years. And this is where you can find me, and this is how I can help you. You see, I'm going to use a sentence of one of the chapters of my story to validate not only my profession, but that I know in the stage where you are, and I know your pain, and I have walked through there, and I can guide you.
I'm going to interject something here for the real estate agents. Do you all see the difference between that and a response to that cold call that says something like, well, I'm the top producer in my office and I've sold 25 homes in the last 3 months and I know what I'm doing? And how many realtors have you overheard? I won't say anybody on this call ever would do something like that, but I've sat in an office before and heard my office mates around me use that kind of language all day because they have to go through 100 calls a day to find someone that might work with. Do you see the shift and the difference?
Julie,
Absolutely.
Julie, I'm not going to talk as a realtor. I'm going to talk as a client.
Okay.
Call me and tell me you're one of the top producers that you sold 5 homes in the last 30 days. You know what that means to me as a client?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost a lot of money.
Or I don't have time for you.
Sure. This is going to cost a lot of money because this guy is going to he's going to create a magazine of my house. He's going to hire a professional photographer. He's going to ask me for 6 or 7%, blah, 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 blah. But if I connect in the area of, I know where you are and I know how difficult it is to walk through this difficult time of finding a new house and getting rid of an old house, my connection will be quicker.
All right, great, thank you.
See the difference? Okay, let's move forward. Let's go, let's unpack this 3 stages or this 3 steps in this process. Number 1, identify the message. And the first point that I want to make here is that you need to make clear that message. If you cannot explain your message in a napkin, it's too complicated. It's too complicated. And I have a couple of questions for you in order to help you to clarify that message. Number one, what is the concept that you are trying to communicate? And the second question is even more important. How will this concept benefit the listener? I know you have a lot of trophies in your house, and I know they were very important for you when they gave it to you. But I know that probably most of them are door stoppers right now. Right? Because I want to remind you something. The only person who care about those trophies, it's you. Nobody else does. Nobody else. For that reason, don't try to show off. Try to take care of the need. When I speak, what do I think the listener needs? And how do I think the listener understands? Because let me give you another example now that Julie is using this realtor's line of illustration. In any profession, you have a vocabulary, and that vocabulary is exclusively for people of that profession. If you address your clients as they are your colleagues, you're going to have a big trouble because they are not. Probably you heard in your lifetime the name Billy Graham, a great evangelist, known worldwide. One time, one reporter asked Billy Graham why he was able to connect with people of every culture, every continent, every level of education. And his answer was, every time I write a sermon, I think in my 5-year-old granddaughter. And the reason of his success is because of his level of clarity and simplicity that anybody with a high school diploma or 2 doctoral degrees can understand that message. For that reason, number one, what is the concept that you want to communicate? But number two, how will this concept benefit the listener? Number two, expectations. And this is an amazing moment when you identify the message to work with your own expectations and the expectation of the other person. Have you ever noticed that every single ad of car insurance will save you money? Have you ever noticed that? 15 minutes will save you 15%. Have you ever heard that, listener?
Every time.
But this is the problem. When everybody save you money, is because nobody saves you money. I hope you got that. Have you ever heard the phrase, if you buy more, you save more?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, let me tell you a financial principle. Nobody save when they spend. I know that defy logic. I know that. But if you spend, you are not saving. Savings is the opposite of spending. For that reason, there is no way in heaven or somewhere else that you buy more and save more. Are you following?
We're with you.
Okay. For
We're
that reason,
we're feeling that.
okay. Are you feeling the heat? Okay.
Yes.
Check this out, the two questions. What is the step the listener needs to take? Sometimes when expectations are not clear. For example, let me give you an example. If I have a client and I'm a realtor and I tell my client, you need a realtor. You know what you're saying? You can take anybody as long as they have a license. You need to say, you need me. You are not representing the Realtors Association. You are representing your own business. You are the first product they need to buy. Not your category, but you. For that reason, the first question is, what is the step the listener needs to take? The second question is, what are the behaviors, disciplines, efforts, or sacrifices they need to make? This is what I have learned, Julie. If I'm honest and intimate and loving with them, they appreciate it. And you know what I notice too? When I hide and I don't fulfill expectations, they will stab me right there in the back. And you are pushing, hey, you need to sign the contract because I have 2 clients. Can I speak to the clients? And they speak to the clients and never sign the contract. When you sell whatever you need to sell, people need to buy into you first before they buy into the product. In the case of a realtor, for example, before they buy the house, they need to buy you.
Oh, yeah.
I hope you got that.
Oh, yeah.
I hope that will clarify that message and make it very crisp, clear, with clear expectations that how that road is going to run. Let me go to the second one. Oh, by the way, never say, if I did it, you can do it. Never say that.
Carlos?
Yes?
Hi, it's Patricia. I'd just like to ask for a little clarification, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, so we're talking about concept, right? What is the concept that you want to communicate? And how will this concept benefit the listener? First, we were talking about themes. Now we're talking about concepts. And the concept that you're talking about is before you buy the house, you need to buy me. Is that the concept?
No, let me tell you what the concept is.
Okay.
The concept is in reference to your story. For example, what Julie said a moment ago, when she selected her first chapter in her story, was her childhood, and the concept was abandonment.
Okay.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I felt nobody respected me, nobody embraced me, nobody took me seriously. You see?
Yeah.
When Julie is selling herself as a realtor, she can say something like this: I know how it feels to have an urgent need of somebody paying attention to you and your needs and never receive that. I know how it feels to be a number, to be a name, but have no value to others. I know because when I was a child, I felt that the people who promised me to serve me and protected me rejected me and didn't take care of me. You see how the concept connects with the message? Because right now, Julie's saying, I know how it feels, and if I represent you as a realtor, I will never allow you to feel that way.
Thank you. I understand.
Perfect. Thank you for your question. That was really good.
Thanks.
Why you should never say, if I did it, you can do it? Because not everybody is willing to pay the price that you have paid. You can take the horse to the river. You cannot make it drink the water. We have differences in experiences. We have differences in wounds. I know we are recording this, but Julie, I will need to say it. We have differences in IQ. And I'm going to leave it there. For that reason, don't make a false promise that if you did it, somebody else will. Because you never know. Let me go to number 2. Divide your life into chapters. My advice is that you take your whole life, no matter how many decades you have lived, and only divide it between 5 and 7 chapters. Don't go further than there, because if not, you will have an encyclopedia and not a story.
Is it, would 3 chapters be acceptable?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
No less than 3, but no more than 7. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. 3 is good. 3 is good. 3 is going to help you a lot with the 5 and 15-minute presentation and even the 30 minutes. You're going to need to chew a little bit of gum for the 60-minute presentation with only 3 points. But we can work with it, okay? We can work with it.
Got it.
Second point is this. When you divide your life in chapters, be sure each chapter has a title, a 1-sentence explanation, and a illustration or a little story of that period of your life that represents that idea. For example, Julie, let me use you again for this illustration. And we're going to use that first chapter, abandonment. You probably have 30 stories about that, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to choose 1 or 2, only 1 or 2, because this is not a group therapy. This is not a visit to a psychiatrist. The story is what carries the message. Okay? And in each chapter, you find 1 or 2 stories that illustrate that point. Okay? We are stage number 2. We're going to go now to this idea. Do not waste your pain. This is the number 1 mistake people make in their own lives. They do not understand that maturity and growth only comes through pain. By the way, I don't know if you, Julie, have ever experienced this, but I have never grown intellectually or emotionally or spiritually or professionally visiting Mickey Mouse in Magic Kingdom. Have you ever?
No.
No. It's not in the fun moments where you grow. It's in the difficult moments where you grow. And if you are a business owner, you have entered an amazing group of people who have developed an organization to serve. You see, you are providing a service that makes you a servant. For that reason, we enjoy the good moments and we learn from the difficult moments. As I told you before, healing in our lives is evidence when we can use our wounds as tools. The reason, by the way, let me tell you the opposite is real too. If you have not healed a stage of your life, never use it as part of your story. Never. Because the day you least expect, you're going to be talking about that, something is going to trigger you, and you're going to end in tears in front of a client. That's not a good sign. I came here to sell you a house, but I'm here for you to give me therapy. That's not a good exchange. It's not a good one. Let me go to the next one. And this concept is really important for you to complete that second stage. And it's something called self-awareness. Maturity is based on this, in the ability that you possess to understand who you are, what are your strengths, and what are your weaknesses. On one hand, you have this. It requires a profound level of maturity and personal restoration to be able to identify how aligned we are with our purpose and the integrity of our motives. Why this statement is so important? Because when you are not adding value to people, you will need to manipulate people in order to accomplish the goals.
Oh, will you say that? Will you say that again one more time? Because let's breathe a minute and let that one sink in. That was powerful.
When you do not add value to people, you will need to use manipulation in order to accomplish the goals.
Ooh. Anybody ever been on the receiving end of that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Made
Do
you
you
want
know?
to run for the hills.
Yeah. Do you know what is in the car industry? What is a lemon?
The car that you can't sell. Or excuse me, the car you shouldn't sell.
But do you think people still today buy lemons?
Yes.
Of course.
Do you know why they buy lemons? Because they are people who are not mature and do not possess integrity, that because they cannot align their lives with their purpose, they go to manipulation to fulfill their purpose or their goals. That is to sell cars. You see, when you are not an honest person, you will need to lie to get to the finish line. The difference is that when you cross the finish line with integrity, you will enjoy that victory forever. But when you cross that line without integrity, you will always look up your shoulders, waiting for the police, waiting for the FBI, waiting for the IRS, waiting for somebody who will tell you, you didn't win that correctly. Let me take this prize back. There is a famous cycle rider who won 7 Tours of France, who is the best example for this point. 7 times this gentleman won the Tour of France, even beating cancer. And after everybody find out that he was using drugs to enhance his performance and the performance of his team, all those titles were removed. And I don't know about you, but I am not waiting for a commission check to be put in a shelf for 7 years. I'm gonna cash it immediately because I have a lot of things to pay. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
The second part. It requires the intervention of people in our lives that love us and value us and have no gain or loss from our success. We all need a second pair of eyes. The reason is that as you develop your story, if you don't invite other people to define that story, you will have what it's called blind spots. And there's a reason why they are called blind spots, is that you don't have the ability to see them, but other people can and will. Let me give you an example. Last year, I wrote my second book. And in my second book, I dedicated a chapter to our weaknesses and our deficiencies. As I was writing that chapter during the pandemic last year, I went to my wife and I told her, honey, I want you to pray and take the next 2 weeks and write me a list of all my weaknesses and all my challenges, because I want to include them in the book. Could you please take the next 2 weeks and do that? And she said, no. Grab a piece of paper. I will tell you right now those things. And I asked again, can you take 2 weeks? I say, I don't need 2 weeks. I have lived with you 28 years. I can tell you by heart. And do you have enough paper? She knew. They are blind to me, but they're not blind to others. Mm-hmm. You see, when you say, I think I have gained 3 pounds, everybody else knows are 15. You're the only one who think they're 3. But everybody else knows that 15 more pounds. And you need people who will hug you and love you and tell you nobody goes from a dress size 12 to a dress size 16 because they have 3 more pounds. I love it. You need to find, and what are the qualifications of those second pair of eyes? Number 1, people who really love you. Number 2, people who really value you. And number 3, and for me, one of the most important, that those people do have a loss or a gain with whatever you're going to do. You see, because there will not be manipulation. There will not be convenience. And by the way, you need those people in your life. Can I move forward, Julie?
Yes. No. Andy Andrews says everybody needs their own personal board of directors.
Yeah. All of us are the CEO of a company named Me Incorporated. And we need a board of directors, by the way. We need a board of directors. That's why I strongly advise By the way, it doesn't need to be me, but I strongly advise everybody to hire a coach, because they can see things in a different perspective and help you think in a different way. Let's move forward. Number 3, integrate the chapters with the message. And it's basically the same illustration I gave Patricia a few minutes ago. You take the pieces of the story, of the chapters of your story, and you include segments of that big message that you want to share with somebody else. Integrate the pieces of your message into chapters in your life. Number 2, I want to remind you, there is only one expert in your story. Have you ever had a friend that when you're with that person, you're with a bunch of people, and you're about to share a story, and the friend says, I know her so well that I can tell the story. And then they start telling the story and it's all wrong? It's because nobody knows you like you. Use that in your advantage. Use that in your advantage. Number 3, there's a question. Why so many versions of this story?
Yeah.
Because you need to become firm with your message, but flexible with the setting and opportunities to share that message. For example, the last time I was in the Rotary Club with Julie, they gave me 20 minutes to speak. You know what I did? I spoke in 14 minutes. You know the first thing they said when I finished? We need to invite this guy again. Now, if they gave me 20 minutes and I used 3 hours, that phrase will not come out of their mouth. Do you understand what I'm saying? For that reason, you need to have a 5-minute version, a 15-minute version, a 30-minute version, and a 60-minute version. And what version you work first? The 5-minute version. If you can condense your message and your story in 5 minutes, you will not have any problems doing it in 60. But if you start with 60, you will pull your hair. Try to do it in 5. Start with the 5-minute story. Let me give you 3 basic tips that have been very useful for me as I develop this concept with all my clients. Number 2, develop the initial process by yourself. Do not invite anybody to that first stage. At the beginning, you divide your life in chapters. At the beginning, you define what is the message and what is the outcome you are looking in that message. You do it by yourself. It will be an amazing journey. Julie, can you tell us a few things about your journey when you were doing this exercise?
Excuse me, I did a lot of journaling. I did it by myself. I did it early in the day when I was not tired. And it required some deep thinking. It required just pouring out everything onto paper and then choosing the parts that really resonated, because when I poured it all out on paper, I saw that there were several parts of the story that totally overlapped and had the same message and the same wounding, the same experience. And so I could pick the ones, I could pick the ones that really would resonate the best.
Thank you so much, Julie. Let me go to the second basic tip. Invite others to the process. Once you have the basics, once you did the initial work, then you invite other people. And this is where the people who love you, who add value to your life, and will not gain or lose on this are so crucial. Be open to suggestions. Be open to changes. Even be open to changes in words. Because sometimes your words mean something to you that it doesn't mean to somebody else. And you have, that's how you will develop the flexibility we spoke before. And the third basic tip is make this part of your daily routine.
Carlos,
Did,
I'm sorry.
Sure, tell me,
Sorry,
Julie,
I don't
tell
mean
me.
to interrupt, but I would like for Patricia Sill to put, if you don't mind, Patricia, can you put your contact info? Do you mind doing that in the chat?
Sure.
And the reason I'm saying this is Patricia is, as she says, a recovering actress. If you Google her, you will find that she has recovered from quite a bit of acting. And she does performance coaching. And she took my story a couple of days ago and let me tell it, and then tweaked it from a performance standpoint so that it really could land and communicate. And so if you want to connect with her, you would be open to that, right, Patricia?
Yes, I would be open to that. And just so that I catch it, please feel free to text me or call me. If you just email me, put something in the subject line so that I can catch it. But it does help to have a little visual on the texting too.
So just from the perspective of how we physically, how our bodies come across when we're doing this.
Yeah, there's a place inside of all of us where our stories live and can land, but the experience of expressing that, there are processes and ways in which we can learn how to express what we have to say in ways that are more effective or less effective.
That's good. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Carlos. I just thought this was a place that we could interject that. I wanted people to have that opportunity.
Thank you, Julie.
Here you will find my contact information. I included already in the chat room. And I want to tell you that at this point of my life, I have been coaching and investing in leaders around the world. And every time we teach this very simple principle, in every single person without exception, we have seen an incredible increase in results. Because when you become genuine and you become the kind of person that you really are, and you can use who you are for your own benefit, it works. Remember, nobody can take your place, and you should not take the place of anybody. You are valuable enough, good enough, and unique enough to do it yourself.
I will tell you that I will share, if I can, with you all that for many years I've taught lead generating classes because I've just done real estate for, since I was 12. But anyway, the process has always been, you just make 100 calls a week and a certain percentage of people will say yes. And then there will be a larger percentage of people who will maybe take out a restraining order against you. And I just felt so that this message was so important because I don't want to do lead generating that way. That feels manipulative to me. And so all of you realtors on here, I know you've been to the classes where they say you say this, and then 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 they promise you that the client will say yes. And we all know we've tried it, and that's not true. And as a matter of fact, it makes me angry that our firms actually teach this and push us in this direction, because I think it is possible for each of us to use our unique story, and we are unique, and that is to be celebrated. But there is a way to connect, even though my story is unique. How many people do you think I encounter who struggle with some form or level of abandonment? It's everywhere. It's everywhere. How many people, how many of my clients do you think call me back because their experience has been, no matter how ugly or scary or difficult or convoluted things could get in their real estate transaction, they were never abandoned. And everybody on here has that spark and that that creativity and that place. And it's your gift.
Julie, before I leave and you can continue with the group, I want to say one more principle, and I promise I will stop. Okay.
You're good. You're good.
Okay. It's gonna sound a little bit awful, but it's not. I promise. Whatever drug you use to attract them, you will need to increase the doses to keep them.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever drug you use to attract them, you will need to increase the doses to keep them. If you lie to attract them, you will need to increase the lies to keep them. If you are a person of integrity to attract them, you will have no issues because that integrity will increase. If you promise money to attract them, you will need to increase the amount to keep them. Whatever drug you use to bring them, you will need to increase the doses to keep them. You need to verify, that's why the story is so important. What are we using to bring them? Because whatever you use to bring them, you will need to increase the doses to keep them. I know that has many applications that apply in your marriage, in your parenting, in your relationship with colleagues, with your clients. And I hope you learn that the best way to avoid problems in the future is becoming a problem maker today. Julie, I'm very thankful for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you.
Again,
I see in the chat that Janice had a question. Can Carlos say that again? I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Janice, did you get what you needed?
No, it's what he said right before you started talking, Julie, and it was about no one else can do what you do, and he was saying something along that, and I
Okay.
only have part of it. So, Carlos, can you go back over that? Do you remember what you were saying during that time?
I can. I don't remember where I am, but I remember what I said. Let me see if I can open this the way that I should have it. Okay. Can you see me now?
We can see you.
Okay, perfect. What I was saying is this. You are the expert on your story, and you are valuable enough. You possess enough skills and enough wisdom to use your story for your benefit. should not be anybody else. That's already taken. You should be yourself, because this is what you have in your hands to be successful.
Hey, Carlos, before you leave, can I add one thing or?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think the thing you were also saying at that time was that no one else can take your place. You know, that's your story. Now, just because we have a group of realtors here and your house represents the security that you create for yourself. It's a first chakra thing. You're providing shelter, like the basic needs for human survival. That indicates, my guess is that many of you have experienced people whose first chakra survival issues come up. Can I provide for myself? Am I going to get enough food? Am I going to have enough shelter? All these kinds of things. So the more your story is like rock solid and holding that place of kind of a grounded sense of being a rock, then other people's issues that may come up around whether it's abandonment or whether it's self-abandonment, but it's a first chakra issue, that it's an issue where people will be evolving themselves through their wounding of, do I have enough? Am I going to be cared for? So that, I guess the reason I'm saying this is because it's such an important thing. It's like buying a car is such an important thing, or having a house is such an important thing, because it's an evolutionary process of securing who you are in a very real way.
It's the container. It's the container for how you do life.
Mm-hmm.
It can determine the future of where your children go to school and who they grow up being influenced by, and what activities can happen within that home. It's highly, highly personal and important.
And whatever their first imprints were in whatever home they came from or home environment, whatever messages they had were given, like, oh, money doesn't grow on trees or whatever. These things can very well come up for the people who are purchasing, because they're taking.
They do come up in that purchase. They do absolutely come up in a purchasing or even selling process.
So that's why you guys, being the rocks that you can be, can hold that space. And the more integrity that, like, I love that what you're talking about, Carlos. Whatever drug you use to attract them, you will need to increase. That is so brilliant.
Okay. Carlos just texted me that his internet went out. His power went out, because he's in Puerto Rico and that happens all the time there.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, I'm sorry. He didn't mean to abandon us. Just texted. I was like, ah. But anyway, thank you all. Any other questions, comments? I did record this today, and however I communicated with you, if you will shoot me something, I will make sure that you get a copy of it if you'd like one. We try to actually, Carlos and I have tried to create things that really do go deep, offer value. We may be doing this again at some time in the future. We haven't, we keep fleshing it out and processing. So anybody comments? Renee, glad to see that you were able to get on here too. And Diane, some of you came in a little bit late.
Julie, I'd like to make a comment. This is
Sure.
Janice. I just want to say, for all you that are realtors, Julie has been an incredible realtor, because we went through a lot of pain in our past house. We bought a home. We've been really hurt by houses and almost literally killed by our house having a really high level of a termite treatment. And Julie was the only realtor who stuck with me to go through all that we needed to go through to try to find a home that would work for us. And it was years. I mean, I'm not talking just a little bit. And we found one home, thought we were gonna go through that home, and then found out that there were gas lines halfway through the process. And Julie was right there, just being so encouraging and so amazing through the whole process. And that really when she says about the abandonment. That is so true. And I just wanted to say that to honor you, Julie, and thank you for this today. This has been really powerful. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. It's been fun in the last couple of years to take that same way of being. Actually, my soft spot for people buying homes has transitioned to a soft spot for the realtors who help them buy homes. So it really has. It really has, because I'm finished. August will finish up 35 years. I won't say finish up, but complete 35 years of doing this. And this is not a job for just anybody. Agree? Let me see your reactions.
I agree.
It takes a heart that can do a deep dive with people. And you really have to get in there and just feel it to your core sometimes. And I really respect all of you who are in this industry, and know that it can be tough. But think how much you grow through it. Oh my goodness. I wouldn't give anything for that journey. I wouldn't trade anything for it. So my love to you all for being here. Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine. If you've got sunshine where you are, most of us have, I think.
We do.
So,
Thank you, Julie.
all right. Awesome. Hope we get to connect again soon.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Good to have
everyone.
you
Nice
on here, Dan.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.